Hey everyone, how are you all doing today? Here is a story about something that I am very passionate about, and you probably all know this about me already, but if you don't, well, here you go. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably kind of figured out that I kind of really like sneakers. A lot. So, I am a sneakerhead, quote unquote, in the eyes of the internet, and I am a big sneaker collector. I love sneakers, and there's just a story behind each and every one of them, and I just love the culture, to be honest. I mean, it sounds kind of weird because you all probably don't understand, unless you are also a sneaker collector, then you probably understand, but it's just a culture. It's a big part of hip-hop culture, rap culture, fashion culture, street culture. I mean, sneakers are something that we wear every day on our feet. Sometimes we wear a different form of shoe, but sneakers have an entire culture and history behind them that it just makes them really cool, and each of them share their own story. So I thought I would tell you today about how I got into sneakers and how I started my little collection that I have. So let's get right into it. I've always been a big appreciator of sneakers. Ever since I was little, I would always see kids wearing sneakers and I was always in awe of them. I would see them wearing the newest Air Force Ones and all these crazy colorway shoes, and I always wanted myself a few pairs. But every year at the beginning of school, I would be able to buy one pair of shoes. My parents would always let me buy a pair of shoes. Now, basically my whole entire life, I wore Skechers. I'm pretty sure everyone has worn a pair of Skechers in their life. The light up ones that when you walk, they light up on the side. Everyone had a pair of those. And honestly, if they had a size 9.5 in Skechers glow in the dark or light up shoes, I would wear them right now because no one else in the world would be wearing them. So I would definitely do it. But anyways, my mom and dad would always buy me Skechers shoes. I wore those probably until I was like 9 or 10 years old. I did not wear any other form of shoe except for Skechers. So that was like my whole beginning in sneakers, is that I wore Skechers light up shoes. But anyways, once I got into middle school, I told my parents I want to buy my own shoes. I want a pair of Fat Farms. Now at the time, Fat Farms were the most hyped up, literally the most ridiculous shoe that was ever made. It was before the whole storm of Nike Air Force Ones. It was before the whole storm of Jordans. It was basically Fat Farms. I mean, Jordans were always big, Nikes were always big, but Fat Farms, where I was from in middle school, was the biggest thing in the world. Literally, if you didn't have a pair of Fat Farms, people would make fun of you. So I really wanted my own pair of Fat Farms. We looked everywhere. Journeys in the mall, Journeys in different malls. We looked everywhere, every sneaker store you can find, and eventually after a 40-minute drive we went to this big mall and we found a pair of Fat Farms. They were all white with a little blue P on the side. If you know what Fat Farms are, you know what I'm talking about. I'll flash an image of them right now so you can see what I'm talking about. But I had my first pair of, I think, $80 or $100 shoes, my first pair of Fat Farms. I thought I was the coolest kid in the universe. You had to bar the laces. If you know what I'm talking about, please leave a comment below. You had to bar the laces instead of having them like zigzag. You would have them a bar after bar after bar going up the tongue of the shoe. So there was a whole way you had to wear the shoe. You had to have them in a certain way. It was just a giant process, but I will never forget going after Fat Farms and just being on the hunt for a pair of shoes. And I thought my Fat Farms were the best. Then around 8th grade, I really got into Nikes, and that's when it was really the year of the Nike, the Air Force One. I'm not sure if this was the right time, but Nelly dropped the song Air Force Ones. Everyone in the world listened to that song, and I was a big fan of that song, I was a big fan of Nelly, and I needed an all-white pair of Air Force Ones. So at the next start of the school year, I did get a new pair of shoes, and I got my first pair of Air Force Ones. They were an all-white Air Force One, and I love that pair of shoes. I mean, it was a classic. Everyone had a pair of those. And I treated them like they were my babies. I cleaned them, I made sure they were nice, and then one day in gym class, we were running outside and I got mud all over them and I was just furious. I could not believe that I ruined my Air Force Ones, so as a result, I bought an all black pair because I figured, hey, if I'm running in the mud, I will not get mud on my all black pair, or at least it will come off on my black pair, or it'll just not be as noticeable, so I got an all black pair as well. Now, I didn't get a lot of shoes in between that time period because my parents said it's kind of a waste to spend $200 on a pair of shoes, like a pair of Jordans or a really nice pair of Nikes, so I would just stick to the classic kind of pair of shoes. So around that time, it was like 10th or 11th grade, I decided to get into Nike Air Max 90s. Now, Nike Air Max 90s were an amazing model shoe, and once again, I wanted an all-white pair or an all-black pair, because I felt like white or black, since I can only get one pair of shoe every year, that they went with everything. No matter what I wore, I would always look fresh in a pair of white or black shoes. So around this time, I started looking more into shoes, if you know what I mean. I kind of studied the game a little bit more. I studied sneakers a little bit more. I looked online for different pairs of shoes. I learned the models of shoes, the silhouettes, the colorways. I learned nicknames for the shoes. I just really heavily involved myself in the sneaker game. And I'll never forget that in 10th or 11th grade, I asked my mom for a pair of Jordans. I saw a really nice pair of Jordans on the wall, and I believe they were $160. So I asked my mom, I was like, "Hey mom, can I please get this pair of Jordans? I really like them." And she said, "No, you already got your pair of sneakers for the year. You're fine, you're done, you don't need any more." And I kind of got upset. I was like, "Come on, please, I don't ask for anything. Can I please get these?" And she shot me down and we left. So I asked her, "Why can't I get these?" And she said, $160 for a pair of shoes is a little ridiculous. We don't need to spend that at the moment. You have a very nice pair of shoes already. You don't need any more. If you want any more pairs of shoes, get a job. So at the time, my dad just bought the bowling alley that we currently own, and I started working there to get some cash. Now, I didn't really buy a legitimate pair of shoes that were worth some money until my freshman year of college. So I saved up a lot of money, but I didn't really know much about getting the new releases or getting the really retro Jordans and just learning about that kind of culture. So I studied up even more on sneakers throughout my life. I would say that I studied sneakers for about 4 or 5 years, and then I finally started collecting and buying pairs for myself. So the first pair of Jordans that I actually bought was in Vegas my freshman year of college, and they were a pair of Jordan Retro 5s, which is my favorite silhouette, so shout out to Jordan 5, and that is my favorite silhouette. And I saw the Jordan 5 Independence Day or 4th of July Jordan on the wall in a Foot Locker in Vegas, so I went in and I immediately bought them, and that was the first pair of shoes or first pair of Jordans that I actually bought. And ever since that day, I just kept buying shoes, I kept learning more about the culture, and I just started building up my collection to the point where I have about 40 pairs in my closet at the moment. I'll flash a picture of my current box tower that I have. It's a little ridiculous, but it's something that I like. I mean, I've always been a collector. I've been someone who collects things throughout their life. I collected coins, I collected cards, I have memorabilia for baseball, basketball, football, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I've always collected something, so I'm not any stranger to the collection kind of game, but my collection is a little expensive. It's a pretty expensive hobby and a pretty expensive collection because it is sneakers. They are about $180 to $220 a pair, especially the ones that I go after. They have an even higher resale value. So what I got into is a little bit expensive and a little bit strenuous on the wallet, but I really enjoy it, and it's something that I really am passionate about. Just like RuneScape, just like gaming, just like video making, I really love sneakers, and to me, sneakers tell a story. They have a little history behind each of them. Michael Jordan wore them in games, LeBron James wore them in games, Kobe Bryant wore them in games. I mean, every model shoe, every silhouette has a story behind it, a different colorway behind it, and I feel that sneakers really put together an outfit. You can wear a pair of jeans, a regular t-shirt, and as long as you're wearing a nice pair of shoes, you're looking really clean, you're looking fresh, you look good. And that's what I love about sneakers. They really put together your outfit, and they're also something that everyone notices about you on your person. I mean, just because I'm obsessed with sneakers, I notice people's shoes first. I usually look at people's shoes, then their heads, to notice who they are. So I look at their shoes first, and I always am looking at the ground because I'm admiring other people's shoes, which sounds really weird and crazy, but I always notice people's shoes first. So that's what I assume some people notice about me first. I mean, they can notice my shirt, my face, my hair, whatever it may be, but I notice people by their shoes first. So That's the statement part of my outfit, and that's why I have so many sneakers. That's why I love sneakers. I love what they mean to me, and I just love the culture behind them. So I thought I would just tell you a little bit about my collection and why I collect sneakers, because most of you are probably like, Lee, why do you have so many sneakers? Why do you collect something that is so expensive? Well, it's because when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to have many shoes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was lucky enough to even have a pair of shoes, let alone a nice pair of shoes for that matter, but I wasn't able to buy the sneakers that I saw back in the day, and now that I've worked hard and I'm doing well for myself, I can treat myself to a pair of shoes every now and then because that's what I'm passionate about and that's what makes me happy. To me, when I got a new pair of shoes, there was no better feeling in the world. When I went to school in a new pair of shoes, I felt that I looked good and I honestly felt good. And even to this day, I feel that same way when I put on a new pair of shoes. And honestly, I don't buy anything else with my money except for clothes and sneakers, and everything else that I make goes straight into the bank and will go towards a house one day. That's really the main goal in life for me. Remember to save your money, everyone. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this story. If you collect anything, make sure that you share it with me in the comments below. I'm very interested to see what you all collect, and if it's shoes, we can definitely talk about them on Twitter or Instagram. But anyways, I'll talk to you all in the next one. Later, everyone.